what does this mean for a cat's head then? The fact that to all intents and purposes, it looks like an ordinary sign on the seals, though the iconographic tradition of the cat is clear and still very much evident in them, and the fact that Cretan hieroglyphic on seals is a fully developed script should, in my view, give us the confidence to treat this sign as a phonetic sign and see in it the forerunner of linear A, linear B, Ma. Now, the fact that it is not attested in Cretan hieroglyphic on clay, but is very much attested in linear A, is a problem. But it is more readily explained as an accidental gap. But it has to be said the opposite view is also not impossible, namely that the cat's head does not yet have been given a phonetic value in Cretan hieroglyphic, that there is another sign out there that has the sound value Ma, and that the homomorphic linear A stroke linear B sign Ma comes from a slightly different tradition. But then we would be faced with a most curious situation, where we actually have the morphological sign in Cretan hieroglyphic, but the sign and the concomitant sound value only in linear A. And I thus prefer the view that its non-attestation on clay documents is an accidental gap in our transmission. But still, we can't stop here, because it must also be mentioned that Ma would thus be a suspiciously rare sign. Now, Sheik lists only 5 attestations of the cat's head in sequences, but given that they don't regard it as an actual sign, this list may be incomplete. And there are certainly a few more instances on the seals that can be discussed in this context. Nevertheless, the sign remains rare, and indeed perhaps too rare for comfort. In linear A, Ma as a syllabogram occurs 94 times out of about 7,400 linear A signs in total. Now, some of these instances of Ma may be logographic, namely where the sign stands by itself. If we subtract these attestations in linear A, we are somewhere in the high 80s. And that means that the sign has a frequency of about 1.2% of all linear A signs. 5 attestations in Cretan hieroglyphic out of about 1,600 signs is about a quarter of that. And also, the putative Cretan hieroglyphic Ma is all too readily found with well-known sequences like 4449 and 44.5, which we have already seen, which are normally standalone sequences. But 5 4449, 444923 on a Lama de Fus, and a few other combinations are also attested as sequences, so maybe this is not an unsurmountable obstacle. And in any case, I think it would be very unwise to conclude from this discrepancy in frequency that Cretan hieroglyphic and linear A are used to record 2 different languages.